5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Amanda, what made you decide to write the book? Don't take the bait.
Why did I decide to write this book? Because I think a lot of people don't know that when you walk in a spirit of offense, you are getting into a silent agreement, a silent contract with bondage. You are ultimately stuck in your past and you're replaying it. Every time you see that person, every time you hear that song, every time you walk into the room when these people are present, you're replaying that event, that offense. And it's only affecting you, not allowing you to get to the next level. And so I wanted to share my personal stories and others who gave me the right to share their stories on just what they experienced. And the goal is that you could take these stories and get some freedom in your own life. So that's really why I wrote this book.
Was any part of the book a challenge to write?
Was there any part that was a challenge? The whole book was a challenge. Even though it was within and I was able to regurgitate it out, it still was a challenge. It was like therapy. The Bible talks about confess your sins to one another so you may be healed. That process of confessing, that's the healing process. So even as I was rewriting the story, telling the story again, pulling all this up from the past, it was therapy. I was replaying those events from my past, my childhood, writing the chapter on family dynamics. It was hard, it wasn't easy. I did it because I believe that nothing is in vain. So it was an opportunity to really show how God stepped in. And I was, those events that happened in my childhood, it helped me become the woman I am today. The relationship chapter, all of it from beginning to end, it was therapy. And so, it wasn't easy, but I did it and I'm grateful that I did.
You talk about the difference between your feelings getting hurt and getting offended. Can you share more?
Yeah, so I honestly don't believe a lot of people know the difference between my feelings getting hurt and getting offended. And so I just take a second in the book to explain the difference because I really want people to know it's okay for your feelings to get hurt. We all have feelings and they're going to get hurt sometimes. The difference is when you get offended and holding on to that. And so on page 35 of the book, I give a very basic example. So let's say, for instance, your birthday comes and someone close to you forgets your birthday. They don't call you, they don't text you. And so a normal response, right? You feel disappointed, maybe feel a little bit of rejection at the time. So if your feelings get hurt, that can pass with a simple apology or even a simple acknowledgement saying, hey, I forgot, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Let's do something, right? And it's done. Your feelings got hurt, it's over. But when you get offended, that's using that same example, someone forgot your birthday. What you do is that it's more of a mental and emotional posture than a passing feeling. So when you're offended, it includes interpretation. You're assigning motive and judgment or a meaning to the person's words or actions. Okay, so now that person forgot your birthday and you're just assigning a motive or a judgment towards that act. So instead of just saying, oh, they just forgot, now you're saying things like, they don't value me, they don't care about me, they always do this. You're assigning judgment to that. And so now you're taking offense. That's the difference. So my feelings are hurt, it's an emotional wound and it happens. When you take offense, you choose to react and it holds you in progress to hold the wound. So you're holding it. So now you put a judgment on that person. You've assigned a motive to that act and now you carry it. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that helps you going forward when you are battling with an emotion of letting it, knowing the difference between, wait a minute, I'm holding an offense to this or my feelings just got hurt.
In the book, you write about your own mishaps. Can you share some of your current struggles?
Yes. So I write about my own mishaps in this book, and something that I will say that I still struggle with today is chapter 8, where we talk about self-defense. I really want you guys to read that chapter. It's a short chapter, but it's powerful. And one of the tools that I use is self-awareness, is catching the old wiring. I talk a lot in the book about just creating new neural pathways with your brain so that you can break free from old habits, break free from the old wirings that keep you into people pleasing or things like that. And I talk about, there's a story in there. It's not about me, but I can absolutely relate with the story of just self-abandonment, where you give up on your voice. You just say, okay, well, I'm not worthy of this. What's for them is more important than what's for me. And again, this is all happening subconsciously, right? You're not consciously saying these things. It's an unconscious act, but it's showing up every day in your life. And so that is something that I have to be aware of. I have to be very poised with my thinking, and I have to be very conscious when it comes to this, my daily activity, especially if I'm underneath stress. So self-offense, chapter 8, is something that I personally am aware of every day. I try to operate in a place of self-awareness to make sure that I'm not going back to default behavior from the past. So yeah.
As a neuroscience coach, what do you think people do that causes them to take the bait, more than not, on an unconscious level?
That's an interesting question. From a neurological perspective, I think that people don't realize they're taking the bait because they ruminate. Ruminating means that you're repeating that offense over and over again. So what you're doing is you're creating stronger neural pathways in your mind, in your brain, which is gonna make it harder for you to adjust. So we'll go to the very simple example I gave about the birthday. Someone forgot your birthday. Well, instead of just, yes, my feelings got hurt, they didn't text me, they didn't call me, and getting what you need from the person, you have a simple conversation, they acknowledge it, and move on. You keep ruminating it and you're sharing it with everyone. You're sharing it with your partner, you're sharing it on social media, you're sharing it with the postman, you're just sharing that offense and you're making it stronger. You have to stop talking about it. That is what I think a lot of people are doing unconsciously, and they don't realize that they're taking the bait. They're making it stronger for them. They're making it harder for them to move past the situation because they keep repeating it. And so with that repeating action, that rumination that you're doing in the brain, you're creating stronger neural pathways, which is you're wiring your brain to look for offense. You're wiring your brain to stay bitter. And that's what I think people don't realize that they're doing unconsciously. So stop talking about it. That's how you fix it. Stop thinking about it so you can move on from the offense.
In the book, you write about relationships, family issues, social media, church hurt, and more. Do you think there's one area that's harder to catch yourself from taking the bait?
I'm gonna have to go with self-defense. I think that's something a lot of people don't recognize. And they may even say things like, I'm a perfectionist, and they actually say it from a position of them wearing a badge, when being a perfectionist is the ever-going hamster wheel. You're never going to be perfect. You're going to continue to not meet the expectations you put out there. It's not wise. And so it's very unrealistic, and people don't realize that that's actually a form of manipulation, and it's prideful, and actually rebellion is all linked into that. So you're chasing something that's not there, and you're keeping yourself in this loop of never being good enough. And that's going all the way back to childhood wounds. And we talk about that in chapter 8. You're trying to create this unrealistic expectation of yourself and others. And ultimately, you are offending yourself consistently because you're never going to meet those unrealistic expectations. So I think that's something that people are not aware of. And we talk about that in chapter 8. So yeah, it's a good one.
What do you hope people will get from this book? Don't Take the Bait. The silent trap that rewires your brain and blocks your destiny?
What I hope people get from this book is that offense is bondage and forgiveness is freedom. You can pretend all day long that you're over something, but if I talk about that person to you and it still brings up those old issues inside, you're not over it. It's keeping you in bondage. If you can't truly pray for this person as if this is a loved one that your child, someone you truly care about, if you can't think good thoughts, if you can't bless them, if you can't really go in and hope the best for them, you're still offended. And ultimately you're in bondage. And so I really hope that people can take the tools that are in this book and have aha moments, have these epiphanies of like, wow, I didn't realize I was doing that. Or now it makes sense why this person is the way they are. So now let me show some grace. That's my hope. That's ultimately my hope, is that people can walk away reading this book and knowing that there is power in forgiveness, and that walking in offense ultimately is bondage.
Thank you for sharing with us. On What's Inside, Don't Take the Bait, can you end with a short reading from the book?
Today, I'm going to read the first 3 paragraphs of the introduction of the book, Don't Take the Bait. Here we go. Every single day, you and I are giving opportunities to take the bait of offense. It might be a critical comment at work, a dismissive tone from a loved one, a post on social media, or even a memory from the past that replays in your mind. Offense is everywhere, and it doesn't show up in the big betrayals or hurtful wounds. It hides in subtle moments that seem harmless at first. But the truth is, offense is not just an emotion, it's a trap. When you take the bait of offense, you don't just carry hurt feelings. You carry heaviness, bitterness, and division. It pulls you out of your God-given identity and into a cycle of blame, defensiveness, and regret. That's why this book matters. Because the bait of offense doesn't just affect how you feel in the moment. It shapes your entire trajectory of your life if you let it. But here's the good news. You don't have to take the bait. You can choose a different path, a path of forgiveness, freedom, and growth. And when you do, everything changes. Your relationships, your health, your leadership, and even the way your brain is wired.
Thank you again, and thank you for listening. Go learn more on how not to take the bait by getting your copy today.